It's wonderful to be here. I'm very honored to speak here. So genetic predisposition is the major known cause of childhood cancer. And it's probably fair to say that at least 10%, the number is probably much higher, of children with cancer have an underlying genetic condition. And more important for this meeting is the notion that TP53 is the most important player. It's the most commonly mutated cancer predisposition gene in children with cancer. A recent study conducted in Germany, led by Stefan Pfister, showed or estimated that 1.5% of all children with cancer have a germline mutation of P53. Why is it so important to detect these individuals? Because it has huge consequences for treatment, for surveillance, for risk reduction, and also, of course, for the family. The problem is the lack of awareness. For example, in Germany, we have 2,100 new diagnoses each year. We have 50 centers that take care of these patients, and we have lack of awareness. And for that reason, Stefan Pfister from Heidelberg and I recently launched a working group for our society, Cancer Predisposition Working Group. And one of the first aims of this working group was the problem that even in the obvious cases, cancer predisposition is overlooked. What do I mean by obvious? I give you one example, the leukemia-prone syndromes, shown on that slide. They differ clinically, the patients, in terms of the leukemia risk, in terms of age of onset, in terms of the cancer spectrum, the presence or absence of physical anomalies, the presence or absence of blood changes, immunodeficiency, and often these patients have a very specific somatic signature. And these items can be used to detect or determine whether there may be an underlying condition. And we have developed in Germany a one-page survey that is now being used by all certified departments of pediatric hematology and oncology for each new patient that comes in. We use the surveys and looking at the family history, looking at the histology, looking at the somatic signature, and at the clinical features, we decide whether we offer genetic counseling to that patient. The survey works. However, it has one problem. It only is able to detect the obvious cases. It is not possible to use the surveys to detect the cryptic and the hidden cases. But I believe that this is not good enough. I'm convinced that in order to get better, we require agnostic tests to diagnose these patients properly. I'll give you one example. There is a new paper coming out soon in Lancet Oncology, and David Malcolm was also involved in this great paper on medulloblastoma cancer predisposition. And this international collaboration was able to show that among children with medulloblastoma from the sonic hedgehog type, age 5 to 14, up to 25% of all patients had an underlying mutation of TP53. In addition, among the patients with sonic hedgehog medulloblastoma below the age of 3, up to 20% had a germline mutation of SUFU, and another 7% of patients with the Wind type medulloblastoma had a germline mutation of APC. Most of these cases were clinically unknown, and they were cryptic, so to say. In Germany, we are planning a study now in order to convince the insurance companies that agnostic testing is necessary for these patients. And we plan to enroll 1,800 patients. We will offer both the clinical evaluation and the agnostic next generation based testing of both germline and tumor in order to figure out how many patients we would miss by looking clinically only. Often testing is not offered because the physicians are afraid to increase the burden for the families, and therefore we also want to look at this aspect. And we also would like to conduct a cost analysis. I'm very convinced that by catching the cancers early and by adapting the therapy, we can save so much money on the treatment side that we can use that money for testing and for surveillance. In Germany, we felt very lucky because we were starting to write surveillance protocols for all conditions with cancer-prone syndromes. But then it came like a Christmas present, the AACR workshop in 2016. And in a very efficient manner, many of the people here were involved, including the group in Germany also. Like a Christmas present, all these protocols were written in a very fast and efficient manner. However, when you put in place recommendations, it's always extremely important to somehow measure whether they are effective. And for that reason, we decided, together with Stefan Pfister from Heidelberg, we decided to open a protocol for patients with Li-Fraumeni syndrome, looking at the surveillance, looking at the natural history, and creating a biobank for research. And because Li-Fraumeni syndrome is not alone, there are multiple other genes leading to a large number of syndromes, over 50 syndromes that are relevant for children from different categories. We decided to open this protocol not only for patients with Li-Fraumeni syndrome, but also for individuals with other cancer-prone syndromes. We have created a website called Facts Investigation Therapy. It can be seen under cancerpredisposition.org. There you can find all the protocol documents that are in English. We are currently translating the entire website also in other languages. Currently, the main part is only German, but there's detailed information for the families on the various syndromes. There's information for the physicians on the various syndromes, and also there's a tool to detect, based on the histology and the tumor type, what are the associated syndromes. We have a DTA in place with the LIFE consortium because it's extremely important for diseases like this to work together in order to move forward more efficiently for our wonderful patients. In Germany, there are wonderful activities also in France on Li-Fraumeni syndrome and other cancer-prone syndromes, and you will hear about that later. And also in the UK, there are other areas of Europe that are not so structured in this regard, and we are currently planning to get together in order to organize us in the field of cancer predisposition in a better manner. One big issue, and we talked about this in the previous talk already, is the treatment. And despite the fact that many of these syndromes have been discovered decades ago, for example, it's wonderful that Joe Fraumeni is here today, who discovered the syndrome 50 years ago now, or 49 years ago to be precise. Despite the fact that these syndromes have been discovered so many years ago, we still don't really know how to treat patients with cancer and an underlying condition. And the problem is pretty simple to explain. The conventional chemotherapy and radiation often destroys the DNA in order to kill the tumor cell. However, for patients with an underlying condition, this can lead to an excess toxicity, and also often we can see resistance of the tumor cells. And this is especially true if you have a condition with an abnormal DNA damage response and repair, like LFS. Yesterday we learned that there are many other functions, which I think that was quite interesting. P53 and LFS is not alone in this pathway. There are multiple other conditions that are affecting this pathway, including dyskeratosis congenita, including ataxia telangiectasia, Fanconi anemia, Nijmegen breakage, Bloom, Werner, Rothmund-Thompson, ligase 4, CMMRD, and xeroderma pigmentosum. All these conditions also have in common the excess of the cancer risk. Here you can see all the syndromes with the associated cancers that occur in these individuals. And in order to address the lack of very good therapies for these patients, we are launching another project right now called Address, the Abnormal DNA Damage Response. And here you can see the flow of this project. In the middle and most important are the affected families, the family support groups. And we want to work together with the healthcare providers, we want to work together with the experts and the registry in order to create a very good information platform for the families, for the healthcare providers, a very good communication platform, a data entry platform, to work here together in this regard. We want to collect biospecimens, and these biospecimens will be used for the research on the underlying syndrome, and also, very importantly, for cancer research in order to do profiling similar to the projects that are being conducted here in Toronto, target identification and preclinical models. And these models are important to later move forward into clinical trials for patients with LFS, to better surveillance trials. And in addition, we are planning psychosocial studies for these patients. I'm very proud that in Germany now, and because it's so important to involve families and patients in this type of work, that we have a Germany chapter in Germany now. It's wonderful. And so Claudia Zablowski is here. She's one of the key drivers of this initiative in Germany. She's here with her son Henning. And it's wonderful that we were able to open this in Germany just a few months ago. And the next thing that we are planning is a family meeting, which will take place in Hannover in July. And you don't speak German. However, these are elephants, and we put them. We are going to visit the Hannover Zoo because of Josh's wonderful work, and you also can't read the program, but you can see the prominent names. You can see that Jen is going to come to speak about the association, and together with Holly, which is terrific. We're looking forward to that. I would already come to the end. I would like to thank the Li-Fraumeni Exploration Consortium. It's terrific to work on this disease in an international manner. We need to move forward more efficiently in a joint fashion. I would especially like to thank Jen and Holly for the wonderful collaboration. It has been a lot of fun. And my team, there's the team from Heidelberg, Stefan Pfister, they're extremely productive, and there's Annalena Böttcher and Christian Peitler. And in Hannover, where we are, Christina Dutzmann is here today also, Beate Dürgelow, and Rebecca Nemeczek. Thank you very much. This is our team. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. That's very impressive, Christian, what you're doing. Do we have any questions for Christian? Way up in the back. We'll take one question.
Thank you for giving an opening for a layman to ask a question here. Do you have any data on possible concurrence or overlap of cancer predisposition syndromes? There seem to be many. Is it possible that someone might have LFS plus something else plus something else? Is there any data on this?
It does occur, especially in the recessive conditions, because in a recessive condition you often have families with that are somehow related, and there you have sometimes 2 or 3 conditions at the same time. Usually, I mean, of course, you can have a double, be unlucky in a double fashion, but it's unlikely for dominant syndromes to have 2. Of course, it can occur, but it's not. It doesn't occur very often. Yeah. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much.